Help support Name Explained by liking this video, leaving a comment and subscribing to the channel. Life can get a little bit strange at times. Sometimes we reach times in our lives where everything just seems to be too much to handle and you want to just disappear and run away and just be somewhere completely different with no responsibilities. Thankfully you can. Well, kind of. I'm sure a lot of you know by now what a big Nintendo fan I am. We have a couple Pokemon related videos up on the channel and even a video all about Super Mario. Today, however, we are looking into another of their popular franchises. On the 20th of March 2020, Nintendo released the newest game in their Animal Crossing franchise, Animal Crossing New Horizon, and I haven't really stopped playing it since it came out. Though there might be a chance that you are not as big a fan as myself, or you may not have even heard of Animal Crossing, so allow me to explain. I guess the best genre to put Animal Crossing in would be Life Sim, but not in the same vein as other sim games like say The Sims. You don't have to constantly be making sure that your character is happy, or if they need food, or if they need to go to the toilet. Those are things you can do in the game. Animal Crossing is about stripping away all the confusing things in life, and being able to live a life of escapism where you can do just the things you want to do. While there are variations in all the games, they all follow the similar plot of you, the human player character, starting a new life in a small isolated village where everyone else, from the shopkeepers to your fellow residents, are animals. You get set up with a house from the local business mogul Tom Nook, who gives you a debt to pay for it. Yes, unfortunately even bills are still unescapable in this game, and you're off. What you do with the rest of your time is completely up to you. Go fishing, talk to others, design your house, or just sit and watch the clouds go past. There's no real goals or challenges or even an end. The game also works on real time, meaning playing in the evening means it'll be evening in the game, and playing in winter means it'll be snowing in the game. If you've never played a game in the series before and thought that sounded rubbish, then fair enough. It's definitely not everyone's cup of tea. However, if you know, you know. There's so much I could talk about in regards to this game series. However, this is Name Explained after all. As mentioned, you aren't the only person living in your game world. You share your town with other animal residents. There are almost 400 different animals that can reside in your town, so it's safe to say we won't be covering all of them today. These villages can be different species, from dogs and birds to even frogs and octopi, and they have different personalities, different catchphrases, birthdays, fashion senses. Each villager has been carefully designed to give the player a unique experience. Players grow to love the villagers in their village, while others can't wait to see the back of them. And of course, all these animal villagers have names, and that's what we're here for today. Creative thought has gone into the names of these villagers too. In some cases, just as much creativity went into their name as it did for the rest of the character. Some villagers, however, don't have the most fun names. The names of these villagers can range from simple wordplay relating to the animal they are, to references something in our real world that relates to an aspect of the creature. That may sound a little confusing, but it will all make sense. And if you want to know how this video is going to play out, IGN very kindly have this list of all the villagers from the newest Animal Crossing game, which I'll be using and will be going through villager species by species, as they are shown off on the aforementioned IGN article. And I must also stress that if you check the sources for this video, it might seem a little light, as a lot of what I'm about to say is my own theorizing. This of course means that we'll be starting with the alligator villagers. The two that I find of most interest here are Alfonso and Ali, who both have names that start with AL, much like the word alligator itself. Ali's name could also be seen as a simple shortening of alligator as a whole. I guess Drago's name is one of interest too, as a fairly popular shortening of dragon that is seen often. Plus Drago does look more dragon-like than the rest of them. And Sly too. Alligators do have something of a stereotype of being rather sly animals, waiting in the waters to pounce. Don't worry, there'll be some more interesting ones than that, I promise. Next up we have the Anteater villagers. Once again we have Annabelle and Annalisa, who have names that start the same two letters as Anteater, and Antonio takes the cake in all this. His name literally has ant in it. A name I found of interest was that of Cyrano, and upon searching this name, the French 1897 play called Cyrano de Bergerac came up, a play about the life of a man by that name. What has this got to do with anteaters? Well, anteaters are seen as having long noses, and Cyrano of the play is too known for having a long nose. In fact, Wikipedia's plot summary of the play says he has an obnoxiously large nose, which causes him to doubt himself. So I guess it was due to his huge nose that led to this large-nosed villager being called Cyrano. What an obscure reference in a game like this. I guess someone over at Nintendo is really into their 19th century French theatre. Anyway, moving on, we have the bear villagers. A lot of these are pretty easy to spot. We have Grizzly named after grizzly bears, Teddy named after teddy bears, and Beardu's name literally just has bear in it. However, a more interesting one may be Ursula, whose name may derive from the Latin word for bear, Ursa, and Chow looks like he's supposed to be a giant panda. Giant pandas are from China, and Chow is a popular Chinese family name. A lot of the bird villages are either named after species of bird or things birds do. For ones named after species, we have Jay named after blue jays, Piper named after sandpipers, Robin named after robins, and Sparrow named after sparrows. Then we have villages like Peck named after pecking, which birds do, and Twiggy who is named after twigs, something birds use in nest building. However, I can't for the life of me figure out why one of the birds in this game has the name of a fish, anchovy. A handful of the bull villagers' names are actually somewhat morbid, as their names actually refer to how we humans eat them. We have Angus, Stew, and T-Bone, referencing Angus beef, beef stew, and T-bone steaks respectively. Of course, there's Rodeo too, with his name referencing rodeos, which involve bulls. Next up we have cat villagers, and once again many of these are pretty obvious. I'm talking about the likes of Cat, Kitty, Pearl, Tabby, and Tom. One of these cats are also called Bob, and while that might seem like a pretty inconspicuous name, it might be a nod to the book turned film, A Street Cat Named Bob. And we also have Anka, an Egyptian themed cat, whose name comes from the hieroglyph Ankh, meaning life. For chicken villages, we have some egg-themed names like Egbert and Benedict, with that latter one referencing Eggs Benedict. And there's also Plucky, which relates to plucking the feathers off a chicken. And for cows, we have Patty, who, like her male equivalent, has a name hinting towards the beef patties she is made out of. And Tipper, which is a reference to the phenomenon of cow tipping. For dogs, we have Biscuit, named after Dog Biscuit, Bones named after Dog Bones, and Walker named after Dog Walking. Aside from these guys, a lot of the dog villagers just have popular dog names like Butch and Lucky. And as for the duck villagers, Bill and Webber stood out to me most. Bill from Duck Bills and Webber from Webbed Feet, though Pate's name clearly hints towards Duck Pate. One of the best references has to be the name of the eagle villager Apollo. This is a reference to the moon landing. That space flight was called Apollo 11 and the lunar lander was known as the Eagle, hence the origin of Apollo's name. This could stretch to Buzz's name too, being a reference to Buzz Aldrin. There's some obvious ones for the frog villagers too. Take the name Frogbert, I don't need to explain that one. How we also have Lily as in lily pads and Tad as in tadpoles. The oddest one has to be Ribbot, a robot frog whose name is a blending of robot and ribbit. As for goat villagers, Billy and Gruff are named after the billy goats Gruff, Kid is named after baby goats, and Nan is named after female goats. Pashmina, however, is named after a type of cashmere, spun from the undercoat of a goat. The horse villagers have names like Buck, which is something a horse does, Colton coming from colt for a young male horse, and Clyde coming from Clydesdale horses. There's even kangaroo villagers. One in particular is named Carrie, as she is seen carrying her Joey in her pouch. Unsurprisingly, there are many Australian themed names of the koala villagers. One is literally called Aussie. However, there's also Canberra, Melbourne and Sydney, named after the cities of Canberra, Melbourne and Sydney respectively. Lions are often called the king of the jungle, and some of the lion villager names play up to this idea. One is called Elvis, and Elvis Presley was seen as a king too, the king of rock and roll. And one is called Rex, which is Latin for king. Mice love cheese, and two mice villages are named after cheeses, Brie and Cheddar. However, as a big Muppets fan, I love that one of them is called Rizzo, hopefully an ode to Rizzo the Rat. The octopi villagers sure are interesting, and one of them is called Octavian. Obviously he was named this due to the octa in the name, however this may also come from the name Gaius Octavius, the Roman emperor. And of course the pig villagers have food related names too. Chops as in pork chops, Gala as in gala pie, Panchetti as in pancetta, Rasher as in bacon rashers, and Truffles as in, well, truffles. Man, Nintendo really like to remind us how much we eat these guys. And as for the sheep villagers, well, we have Barbara, Cashmere named after a type of fabric made from sheep's wool, Curlos, a curly pun on Carlos, and Eunice, which may be based on the name for female sheep, Ewes. Unsurprisingly for squirrel villagers, we have a few nut-based names, those being Peanut, Hazel, and Pecan. There's also one called Nibbles, which is just a very fitting squirrel name. And as for tigers, we have Bengal, which I saw as a reference to Bengal tigers. And finally, we have the wolf villagers, which have fitting names like Fang and Wolfgang. Okay, that's way too much Animal Crossing talk I think for now. I just find it so interesting how much thought and creativity has gone into some of these names. Many people say what they love about Animal Crossing is the little details, and for sure the little details that have gone into some of their names is one of the things I love most about it. Though as I mentioned, this was all my own ideas. Are there any interesting names you feel I missed out on? Make sure you tell me down in the comments below. Now if you don't mind me, I've got some debts to repay. Thank you to all my patrons who support Name Explain on a monthly basis. Name Explain depends on small monthly donations from fans like you to help keep the channel running. Just the small amount of $2 a month helps in a huge way, grants you patron exclusive Name Explain extras, and gets your name here with all these awesome people. Thank you. Hello all and thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. Stick around and check out another video and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Name Explain. You can follow myself on Twitter at NameExplainYT. Follow me there and tweet the name Isabelle at me so I know you came from this message. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and once again, thank you all so much.